want to acknowledge and thank all of you here in the room today and those that are joining via Zoom. We're thrilled to have such a wide industry interest from our local California firms from around the nation, and those joining us from overseas. Throughout the event, you'll have the opportunity to network, learn, and gain valuable information on a number of upcoming procurements. We've organized presentations, and later we'll conduct a Q&A session. As we kick off this Industry Awareness Day, let's embrace the opportunities it offers and hope you're able to connect, learn, and thrive. Let's take a look at our agenda for the afternoon, if we could. So we're doing the welcome and event overview right now, obviously, and then we're going to have an overview of the California High-Speed Rail project from our CEO, Brian Kelly. We will go over upcoming rail procurements. We will do a procurement requirement for bidders. We'll take a quick 30-minute break and allow time to compile questions. If you've already written your questions on the papers that were provided at the back of the room, feel free to hold them up. We've got some runners that can come through and grab them so you don't all have to make your way to the back during that break. But that will be another opportunity for us to collect those questions from you during that 30-minute break. We will then conduct a question and answer session and then have some brief closing remarks. So before we move on to the presentations, I want to review the Q&A process for you. So the question and answer session will be held as part of the event, addressing written questions from both our virtual participants and our in-person attendees here in the room. We accept written questions at the event. Please write them out on your question forms, as I mentioned, and provide them to the authority staff, either the runners that are coming through the room or those in the back table. Again, Rachel can wave. There you go. Your questions will be collected and reviewed and then answered by authority staff during the Q&A session. Please turn all questions in at the start of the break if you haven't done so before then. The authority will not answer questions regarding specific organizational conflict of interest matters, prior procurements, or other topics it determines are not relevant for the purpose of the event. If there are questions that are more general about the authority, we will answer them as time permits. Next slide. The authority welcomes questions on the project generally, as well as more specific questions on the anticipated upcoming procurements, such as scopes of work, timelines, small business requirements, and general process. Please keep in mind that each specific procurement will have a pre-bid meeting, small business workshop, and a process for getting questions answered. For those that are not answered at the event, the authority will make its best effort to respond to them in writing. All written questions regarding the Industry Awareness Day should be submitted by November 22nd to Richard Yost at Capital Procurement at hsr.ca.gov. The authority responds to all questions and they will be posted on the Industry Awareness webpage as soon as we can, definitely no later than a few weeks from today. Please do not use the Q&A session for advertising and promotional purposes. All right, next slide. And with that, I would like to introduce our CEO, Brian Kelly, who's going to give you a project overview update. And again, there is still feedback on this iPad. Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Brian Kelly, the Chief Executive Officer for the California High-Speed Rail Authority. I have the simple part of today's agenda. I'm here to give you a brief overview of where we are in the project, what we're trying to get done, what we have gotten done in recent weeks and months and years, and what we're planning to do next. So I'm going to do a very short presentation on sort of the project status, as I said, statewide, not just in the Central Valley where we're doing the majority of our work. And then again, all the subject matter experts are here for the more granular or in-depth elements of our procurements that are in front of us. You'll hear from Bruce Armistead and Dominic Ruins on our procurement strategy, and a summary of that and our outline of that going forward. Kate Cook is one of our finest attorneys who works on our organizational conflict of interest policy. She'll walk through that policy and procedure with all of you. Isidro Sanchez we'll talk about contracts compliance matters, and Katrina Blair from our process and program development branch we'll talk about our small business participation goals and requirements in every contract. So very pleased the team is here, very pleased to see all of you. And with that, let me just get into, again, a brief summary of the status of our project. So first up, what are we trying to do? Well, the voters in California in 2008 said, hey, let's build high-speed rail between San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Anaheim. So phase one of this system is a 500-mile system connecting San Francisco with LA and Anaheim. And as we stand here today, we are in construction on 119 of those miles in the Central Valley. We are environmentally clearing all of San Francisco to Anaheim. We've made great progress on that in the last couple of years. By the first quarter of 2024, we'll have environmentally cleared downtown San Francisco to downtown Los Angeles. And then the last segment, LA to Anaheim, will be done in early 2025. Our trains will be designed to move at 220 miles per hour, and we have up to 24 stations on the entirety of that phase one system. Our mission, again, initiate the construction of a high-speed train system that utilizes an alignment and technology capable of sustained speeds at 200 miles an hour or greater. That's what we're working toward doing. That's what we are advancing, and that's what we're now getting to the next level of phase for our project. When I started, this was very much a planning organization, just learning how to do construction delivery. Now we're deeply a construction delivery entity, learning how to get into operations. And that's really what these next procurements are about. The next slide, please. I like to talk about the project in three distinct segments around the state of California. Again, while a lot of the activity is in the Central Valley, because that's where we've concentrated our effort and investment, this is a statewide project, San Francisco to Los Angeles and Anaheim. So I'll talk about each of the three segments quickly. First, in the Central Valley, the yellow segment that you see on that map. When I started, the Central Valley was defined as the 119 miles between that town and Madera in the north and a location about 18 miles north of Bakersfield called Poplar Avenue. That means a town of Madera to an avenue in the middle of an orchard. When I started here, I did not think that was a very good operating run for a rail system. And so working with Governor Newsom, we redefined the Central Valley operating run to connect to the three fastest growing cities in the Central Valley, Merced, Fresno, and Bakersfield. And so now that operating segment that we're driving hard to deliver is 171 miles connecting those cities. This section is 100% environmentally cleared today. As I said, 119 miles are under construction. The remaining 52 miles are in advanced design now. We've pushed design from the preliminary stage out to about 30% this year. And we're going back to our board soon about strategy to get that design to 100%. We are in station design as well on the 4 stations in the Central Valley, Merced, Fresno, Kings Tulare, and Bakersfield. And the track and systems contract for design was just approved to be released by our board at our last hearing. And we just completed the first part of the train procurement in terms of the SOQs coming in for trains themselves. And now we'll move to the RP process as we get into early 2024. So again, the Central Valley segment is clearly the place where we're moving towards operation the most quickly. Let me move to the next slide. Just one more thing on the Central Valley. Again, this is the center of our investment where we're doing the most in terms of building structures and getting ready for operations. Got about 11,400 construction jobs we've created since we started construction in the Valley. About 70% of those workers come from the Central Valley, and that's important because one of the requirements when we first started using federal money on this project was to make sure disadvantaged communities were benefiting from the project, and that's clear in the work we've seen in the Valley. Last week, we hit 1,600 daily workers out to our construction sites, which is a record for the authority and also shows that we're advancing construction at a pretty good pace. And we have 25 active construction sites now. Today, we just announced the 10th structure that we've opened now in the Central Valley in 2023. So we're moving along at a good pace. We have 812 small businesses working on this project, including 282 that are disadvantaged business enterprises and 99 that are DDBE businesses. We are also looking to lead the country in sustainability. My board has adopted a policy which is the most stringent sustainability policy on any major infrastructure project in America. We are looking to be operating ultimately with renewable power, largely solar, in the Central Valley. We use the cleanest construction equipment, Tier 4 construction equipment in the field. We've offset a lot of our emissions through tree planting and other things. And so we're looking at being net neutral in terms of emissions all the way from construction through operations of our system. Next slide. The second segment I'd like to talk about is about 159 miles. It's the segment where we connect the Central Valley to the Bay Area. This is Merced into San Jose and up the peninsula to San Francisco. It's 100, as I said, 159 miles. It is also 100% environmentally cleared. Today, we're eligible to begin advanced design work. We're particularly interested in doing some early geotech and advanced design work through the Pacheco Pass area. That's the stretch between the Central Valley and Gilroy, getting into the Bay Area. And then we look to go up the peninsula, largely sharing the corridor with the Caltrain commuter system now. We have a federal grant pending at the federal government now to fund some of that advanced design work and geotech work. And we think we're going to hear about that grant by the end of the year, and I'm kind of hoping by the end of November, but we'll see. We also are big funders on what's called the Corridor Electrification Project. For Caltrain, they are electrifying their commuter system now. We've contributed about $733 million to that project. And that's in large part because we're going to use that infrastructure as we enter our service into the peninsula as well. There'll be additional infrastructure upgrades that we will undertake as we get there. But that project has been on path to open at the end of 2024. And again, it's part of our extension into the Bay Area as well. This segment outside of the stretch that we're funding through Caltrain is an unfunded segment right now in terms of this project. And so our strategy is to advance the pre-construction work as much as we can and prepare for our funding conversations as we get closer. Next slide, please. The third segment, if you will, is the Southern California segment. And this is everything south of Bakersfield through the Tehachapi's, getting into Los Angeles and Anaheim. It's 164 miles. As I'm standing before you now, about 92 of those miles are environmentally cleared. We are advancing aggressively now on the segment that is between Bakersfield and Palmdale. And as I said earlier, once that segment is environmentally cleared, and we intend to bring that to our board in the early part of 2024, we will have environmentally cleared all of downtown San Francisco to downtown Los Angeles. And the last remaining segment will be the shared corridor between LA Union Station and the Arctic Station in Anaheim. And so that'll be the last environmental stretch we will do, and that'll come in 2025. We are funding a couple of bookend projects in Southern California as well. The LA Union Station remodel or restructure project is one that we are funding partners on today, and we're also funded down there a major grade separation change called the Rosecrans-Marquardt grade separation, which was one of the more dangerous grade crossings in California, and that is now under construction as I'm standing here. This is another segment or part of the project that is unfunded in terms of construction, and our strategy is the same. We have a grant request before the federal government to advance design where we finish that environmental work, get more of that pre-construction work done, and come back later on a funding conversation for this segment. Next slide. Just a quick milestones that are upcoming that are important to us. And, you're going to hear a lot today about a very aggressive procurement schedule, and that's because we're on a very aggressive schedule now to meet some important milestones. For us, we're getting to the very end of what we call CP4 construction. That's the final 22.5 miles of the construction underway in the Central Valley. Of the 22.5 miles now, there's about 400 feet left to do, but the rest of it is pretty much done. So we're reaching substantial completion on that today. As I mentioned, we're in track and systems design. Procurement is underway. We're going to talk a little bit more about the construction element of that. Train set procurement is underway now in terms of the RFQ. And in 2024, we're looking to complete, as I said, the electrification of Caltrain. The Rosecrans-Marquardt grade separation will be completed by the end of the year or early 25. And then 25, 26, we'll get into procurements for depots and facilities. And we're looking to complete our work on the other two construction projects in the Central Valley, CP1 and CP23. At 28, we want to see the track and systems completed for the 119-mile stretch. And then 29, 30, we're looking to test and test and commission that segment, and then complete the extensions in number set in Bakersfield. We're looking for passenger service operations between 2030 and 2033. So that's really the outline of the project. I think that's all I got. Let me look at the next slide. Yeah, that's the thumbnail sketch of where we are. You know, a lot going on, as you can see. You're going to hear from Bruce Armistead, the director of our rail operations, in just a moment, about our procurement summary and strategy as we go forward. A couple of themes that I just want to highlight as Bruce comes up and talks to you in more detail about the strategy we have is, one, some of the things you're going to see, smaller bites in terms of what we were trying to do before on procurements, really large packages. You're going to see us now break these up a little bit more, segment them differently. We'll put more integration pressure on us, but we think it's better to manage smaller contracts and facilitates greater competition. So you're going to hear some of that in our strategy. The other thing I want to say, we are operating in a constrained budget environment for this project. That's always been the case on this project, but that means for us, there's some things that we have to complete in order, given our federal funding grants that we have. So you're going to see us in notices to proceed on these procurements, take effort to get the 119-mile stretch done first, and then expand that work to the 171. So that'll be a theme you'll see in these procurements as we go forward. The last thing I want to say that's really important to us, and really today, is one example of it, but you're going to get more of it as we go forward. And that is greater communication with industry as we get into these RFQs. And so it will not be uncommon for you to see us going forward, releasing draft RFQs for comment before we sort of officially release those, because we want to get more feedback, more input from all of you as we move forward. We're going to be careful, we're going to be methodical, but we're also going to be timely. And so with that, I'm happy to introduce Bruce Armistead and have him walk through the details. Thank you very much. Bruce.
Well, as was mentioned, I'm Bruce Armstead, Chief of Rail and Operations Delivery at the Authority. I'm going to walk through a few slides about our background, some lessons learned in our process, and then I'm going to hand off to Dominique to get into some of the particulars of our procurement strategy. Next slide, please. A little background. We needed to advance key procurements in the second half of this year and early in 2024 to deliver on the schedule that will allow, that's consistent with our timeline for the project update report and our agreements with the FRA. The procurements include the design and installation of track systems where the civil works are completed, train sets, as was mentioned earlier, related procurements including construction management, independent cost estimator, and the others that you see there. These procurements will implement a strategy that incorporates lessons learned from industry input, lessons learned and industry input. It includes smaller contracts, as Mr. Kelly mentioned, increased flexibility, and an emphasis on maximizing our bidder pools. Next slide, please. Lessons learned. We won't repeat the mistakes of the past. The upcoming procurements will follow core principles, will pursue a higher number of contracts with a reduced size, and our initial focus is going to be on the CP4 area, which will become available for tracking systems construction first. We're going to procure scopes under multiple packages. The prior tracking systems procurement sought one large package, and now we're breaking it up into much smaller packages that Dominique will detail. And even the packaging strategies that he details today will undergo further refinement for us to make sure that we're managing our risk properly. The industry is shifting away from the traditional fixed price design build, fixed price delivery models. So the increased flexibility and the authority's control of design where appropriate. We're going to manage the schedule to meet our grant deadlines, and we're going to recognize which risks should be retained by us to deliver a certified and safe high-speed rail system. Next slide, please. Our process. The process represents 9 months of intense work by the authority, international high-speed rail experts, and significant input from the industry and various peer agencies. It takes into account the post-COVID market conditions. We've done market sounding and gotten feedback from a broad group of industry participants. It assures that the authority's interests are paramount and risks are minimized. It takes into account lessons learned from the civil contracts, from the prior tracking systems procurement, and other projects, both US mega projects and international high-speed rail projects. Next slide, please. And I'd like to turn it over to Dominique Roulins to talk about the tracking system overview of packaging.
Thank you, Bruce. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dominique Roulins. I'm the Deputy Chief of Rail and Operation. And I will speak to you today about the strategy we are envisioning to put in place for procuring all the contract concerning track and system up to opening to service in the late 20th years. So next slide. Yeah, we are okay. So the big architecture, as Bruce explained is as shown on that table, with 4 main package and some additional supporting contract. Even if the big picture is as it is nowadays, there is still some tweak that we will be able to do according to the feedback we will receive from you all. And we are expecting through your question later on today, or through written question, that we will be able to adjust some part of this contracting strategy. The big aspect of this contracting strategy is a progressive approach, meaning that, as Bruce said, we are getting out of the fixed price and design build strategy and going more toward design build, progressive design build, or CMGC contracts, which will allow us to take all the flexibility we can have and organize the work according to the civil section that will be delivered to us in order to start our track design system. So the first package is one, I will say, the main part of the system, which is a track and an OCS, exclude of traction power. So here we are speaking only of the catenary overhead system. And we already, with agreement of the board, launched RFQ last Friday on the design part. It will concern 170 miles of preliminary design, I would say, for the full stretch from Merced to Bakersfield, and the detailed design of the Madeira to Poplar section, where we have actually the civil ongoing, and where we will have the first contract available this year, with the CP4 being substantially completed by the end of this year. So this contract will be followed by a CMGC construction contract, where on the basis of the design done by the package 1A, the constructor will have to build in order to meet the performance of CHSRA and translated into the design. And this construction contract will be called earlier enough during the design stage in order to be able to input construction methodology into the design. We all know that the track, there is several and numerous possibility to lay the track. So it's one of the input that the builder will have to provide to the designer, and also on the specific method of construction that the builder want to use. And we are also hoping to have some improvement or engineering value coming from the constructor to input into the design on the way to improve the reliability or the availability of the track we are building. Next slide, please. The next package will be a system package. So it's covering, what I forgot to say is that the design package from the previous slide is a package of a couple of 100 million, and the CMGC package, construction package, will be, as I said, will be a progressive packaging, starting with roughly 400 million for the first section on CP4, and eventually a little bit more of CP4, and growing, possibly growing up to a couple of billion for the full 171 section, but all being set by a task order or contract or notice to proceed, depending of the way we will choose to contract these parts. So the second package is the system package. The system package will encompass signaling, power supply, meaning the construction of the substation, excluding the connection to PG&E, because PG&E keep an overview on the work that is under its responsibility. So the power supply is what is internally to CHSRA, substation and connection and all that aspects, telecom, and cable, fiber optics, and SCADA. Information transfer, plus the equipment of the operation control center. The building will be part of a contract we will speak later on, which we call the facilities, but the equipment of the OCC will be part of that contract. That contract is expected. I'm looking at my notes. System here. That contract, similarly to the construction of the track and OCS, will be a progressive work, and depending on how we will split the work according to the feedback we will receive from the industry. We expect to have a contract in a range of a couple of billion, all being progressive and along the 7 next years, and depending, of course, of the split we will have. Next slide. The package 3 is the train set. So the train set procurement is already ongoing, and yesterday was the end of the RFQ process, and we received some proposal from manufacturers that will be evaluated. And we will come to a RFP process, a short list and a RFP process at the beginning of next year. Next slide, please. So the package 4 is concerning the facilities. So what we call the facilities are mainly the buildings that we will have to open. First of this building is our operating center that will be located in Fresno. That where this OCC will of course include the control command of the system, but also the training center, the simulator for driving for the driver, for the training of the driver. And at this location in Fresno, we also have a maintenance of way facilities that will be on the side, and a light maintenance for railway site, because at the time where we will start the commissioning of the train, the testing and commissioning of the train sets, the heavy maintenance facility will not yet finish, and so we will need some space in that location in order to space and building in order to set a temporary maintenance site for rolling stock. When I speak about facility, it doesn't include the tracks or power supply or systems that are that could be laid on this area. These specific technical track OCS signaling are part of the specific contract that I already spoke before. So when we speak about facilities, is mainly building, access roads, and really what is around this building. So apart this OCC and big area in Fresno, we will have several maintenance of way facility to put in place. And as I already spoke about, EV maintenance for rolling stock. So this EV maintenance facility will be built and designed in full integration with the rolling stock provider that at the time we will know, and he will work with the contractor of this HMF to exactly lay out the buildings and explain which kind of equipment you want in this building. Next slide, please. So now we arrive on the additional contract that will support the authority in managing all these contracts. So first of this contract, it will be the independent safety assessor. The independent safety assessor will support the authority in providing to FRA directly an assessment about the safety of the system. We want the FRA to have an independent advisor on her side to demonstrate that what we are doing is safe and secure to operate. And it's a way that companies working in Europe are used to have. The independent safety assessor, even if it's a contractor from the authority, will work directly with the Federal Railroad Administration and will provide the independent safety assessment. Then we will have an integration support. So as you've seen, we have split all that work of track and system in several contracts, and as you can imagine, in order to be able to run train at 220 miles per hour, the big challenge for us will be to integrate all these contracts and all these techniques into one system. And so the authority already has an integration team, but this integration team is not sized in order to manage so much contract and have so big scope to look at. So we will here a support integration contractor that will provide us the workforce and will do the work on all the requirement management using the IBM software doors, the interface management, overseeing the production of the RAM document from the contractors, and checking the configuration management of all this documentation and systems. All that under the control and the oversight of the integration team from the authority. The next contract is the independent cost assessor, and estimator, sorry. So this contract, due to the progressive way we will use for all the contract and where there is an important part of negotiation with the contractors, this independent cost estimator will support the authority in providing an independent estimation and control of the estimation the contractor will provide us before we sign any contract. And finally, but not the least, the construction manager. So the construction manager scope will be to be the eyes and ear of the authority on site. Meaning performing the inspection on the work, performing the quality control for the authority, not doing the quality control from the contractor, of course, but checking the quality control for the authority, providing the safety and security oversight, managing the access to the site, because if you have several contractors, you will have some time to make some policy for the access, and also managing the work train traffic on the site, because if the rail contractor want to engage a train when the signaling guy has some work to do at some location, there is some management to do. So it will be all the role of the construction manager. And I think it is the last slide. Yes, so I give back the stage to Bruce. Thank you.
Thank you, Dumby. I'm going to talk a little bit about our resilient and renewable power using solar and battery storage. As you've heard, we are committed to 100% clean energy and having renewable energy on this project. What you see before you is an overview of our traction power substations and the associated rail substations. On the left are the traction power substations that are needed for our test track, the 119 miles. So those substations are 7, 9, 10, and 12. The other substations that are listed there, traction power substation 8 and traction power substation 11, will be constructed when we go to the 171, but they're required for the valley-to-valley service and not necessarily required for the Merced to Bakersfield service, but they will be installed as part of that work. Next slide, please. Technical and policy considerations are the foundation for our renewable power supply behind the meter. Renewable power supply strategy has been informed by preliminary engineering demand modeling that we've done, the authority on land for the solar facilities, the grid interconnection strategies, resilience and reliability in planning, the commitment, as I mentioned, to 100% clean energy, and this reduces our operating costs significantly. This allows us to shave the peaks. And when we go into peak demand areas, we can smooth those peaks by turning on the solar or the battery electric storage system and turning off our connection to the grid. Renewable resources for behind the meter include the solar, the storage, the additional renewable resources, and it will all be connected via the traction power substations to support our renewable policy goals and resilient train operations. Next slide, please. So our behind the meter strategy, local and solar storage at the traction power substations. The renewable power supply project is informed by the existing traction power substations that you can see on the map there. The existing traction power locations, the preliminary energy demand modeling, our authority-owned land, and the grid connection and resilience along with reliability. What's interesting about this map is the traction power substations are shown in the battery electric storage locations are shown in red. The solar arrays are shown in yellow. The green are electric vehicle charging stations. So we'll be able to charge your EV at the location shown on the green dots, and those EV charging stations will be powered by our solar and battery electric systems. The blue stations are our passengers. The blue dots are our passenger stations. So from Merced, Fresno, Kings, all the way down to Bakersfield, the red dots are battery electric storage locations. The yellow dots are the arrays. The blue dots are our passenger stations, and the green dots are the electric vehicle charging stations. Next slide, please. And now I'd like to turn it over to Catherine Cook, our attorney, to discuss organizational conflicts of interest.
Thanks, Bruce. Hi, my name's Kate Cook. I'm an attorney here at the Authority. I support Bruce and Dominique's team in several of these rail procurements, and I also do a party side of conflicts work. And I'm sorry that what I'm about to talk about is not as exciting as what you just heard from them, but it is an important topic. There's a lot of contracts coming up that are going to be going out to bid or are out to bid, and we want to make sure that process is fair and transparent for everybody. Next slide, please. So at the Authority, we have an organizational conflicts of interest policy. And basically, it says that if you would like to enter into a contract with the Authority, you need to ensure that you comply with it. It applies to subconsultants, subcontractors as well, who are working for primes. And we have this policy for several reasons. Our federal grants require it. It ensures a fair and transparent procurement process in which we can maximize competition and minimize bid protest exposure. It also ensures that we're complying with state and federal procurement laws and regulations, and that we're making the playing field as level as we can for everyone. Next slide. So under the policy, which is available on our website, and we'll show that in a minute, we define an organizational conflict of interest as a circumstance arising out of a contractor's existing or past activities, business or financial interests, familial relationships, contractual relationships, and or organizational structure that would result in one of the following three situations. The first is an impairment or potential impairment of the contractor's ability to be impartial as they carry out the work of that contract, to provide us with objective advice or objective work. They're working for the good of the Authority and the contract and not some other financial interest. The other situation where a conflict would result is if there's an unfair competitive advantage for one contractor bidding or proposing on a procurement. And the third is a perception of one of the other two. Next slide. So there's essentially two basic situations where we'll find that an organizational conflict exists. It doesn't always mean that a firm is prohibited from participating on a contract. It's just something that we need to look at and see if we can mitigate if possible. But the two main situations that come up First, under the unfair competitive advantage, perhaps a contractor was part of a procurement process. You know, they were working with the authority in developing our strategy or the specs or something like that. That would create an unfair competitive advantage. That contractor would not be allowed to bid on that procurement. That could also happen if they got, non-public information somehow that gave them an unfair competitive advantage. The thing to remember about that is that we don't live in a world where we can make everything completely level. There's lots of case law and procurement regs on this. It's not about complete fairness. It's about whether there's an unfair competitive advantage. So there's going to be some natural advantages that certain contractors might have based on experience on our project, but that doesn't mean that they're ruled out from participating. It only becomes a situation where it rises to be unfair. The next situation that we are concerned about is the one in which a contractor would be unable to perform their obligations objectively or in an impartial way. This situation would happen, let's say we have a huge slew of contracts coming out soon. You know, if you are a firm, a prime on the CMGC, for example, installing, building the track in OCS, highly unlikely you're also going to be able to sit in the construction manager role. We want that construction manager, the integrator, some of those other roles to be objective, impartial as they're doing the necessary work to support the authority. Next slide. So what happens if we identify a conflict? So it is a little bit of a misconception that we just rule everyone out if we see one. That's not the case. Our policy allows for a lot of flexibility. The vast majority of requests that we receive, the determinations find that the contractor can participate. Sometimes we have to use mitigation or safeguards, though, to make sure that that participation can be done in a way that will stand up. So we have to balance, these goals of fair, transparent, level playing field. Those goals, we have to balance that against sort of the need for competition, right? This is a highly complex project, a lot of specialty areas. We know there's not an endless list of contractors doing that work. We want to make sure we have the right talent and competition involved in these procurements. And so we have to balance that when we apply the policy. So if we do find a conflict or a potential conflict based on some interest that the firm has or other contract they're working on, we go through the policy, we look at all the factors, we ask you more questions, we work with staff to figure it out, and we will typically apply some mitigation. If the answer is yes, with safeguards, sometimes that means there's walls set up. We ask you to sign things. Sometimes it means maybe some of your prior work product would be released to other bidders to keep it fair. And sometimes, unfortunately, it does mean, sorry, you can't compete. But we try in every situation to find a way to mitigate and make it happen. Next slide, please. So our policy is on the website. The easiest way to find it is just to go to the homepage of hsr.ca.gov and use that search function to put in organizational conflicts, and the policy will pop up in your results. If you look at that policy and think you need a determination to figure out which contracts you can bid on or who you can team with, send an email to us. The email will be on the next slide. I want to make it clear that we don't require pre-clearance to participate in procurements. Some prime teams might ask you for a letter to show that you have no conflicts for that procurement. We don't require that. It's always a good idea if you have other contractual interests on our program to get a determination, but it's not required. You will be, though, on every procurement required to sign under penalty of perjury. You'll be signing a disclosure statement that basically says, I don't have any conflicts. Next slide. So if you do think you need a determination or have questions, send an email to our chief counsel, Alicia Fowler, at legal@hsr.ca.gov. If you know which contracts you're interested in, reference that contract. If you don't, but you know a few, put them all, and then also provide us any other information that you have in terms of contracts that you're currently working on at the authority or that you worked on in the past. It'll help us speed things along. Next slide. And that's all for organizational conflicts. I'm going to turn it over to Katrina.
Thank you, Kate. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Katrina Blair, and I'm the Chief of Process and Program Development. And one of the programs that I oversee is the Small Business Program. And my team is responsible for ensuring that the authority meets the small business, disabled veteran business enterprise, and disadvantaged business enterprise goals. So I'll briefly go over the goals and the certification requirements for the project. Next slide. So we're proud of the number of businesses that we already have that have performed on the contract. We have a total of 812 businesses that have come from all over the state. And as you can see, we have various business types, small business certification types throughout the state, and we're representing various regions. So in order to meet the goals in accordance with the Small Business, Disabled Veteran Business Enterprise, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program, or SBDVBE goal, it's alphabet soup as we call it, we Primes should designate a small business officer, and that person is responsible for being the point of contact for all things related to small business, DVBE, and DBE. The small business team will also work very closely with this person once they are identified after contract is executed. So my team is focused on helping primes and firms, small firms, succeed in meeting the goals on the project by working with them to increase participation and utilization on the project. We accomplish this mainly by hosting workshops and outreach events to garner interest for any future procurements or task orders issued under a contract. So what are the authority's goals? Well, previously, the authority had a 30% overall goal inclusive of 10% DBE and 3% DVBE. On November 2nd, the authority's board of directors approved a goal change to the SBDVBE program, and all contracts executed after November 2nd will have a new goal structure, and each contract will be expressed separately based on federal and state requirements. So for blended contracts, as we see here, which is currently how the majority of authority contracts are classified, they contain both state and federal dollars. We will continue to apply a 3% DVBE and a 10% DBE goal, which will be applied across total contract value. And now we will apply a 25% small business goal on the state portion of the contract. And of that 25%, we'll carve out a 3% micro business goal as outlined on the slide. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, thank you. Oh, you can go back. I apologize. Go back to state. Thank you. So for 100% state-funded contracts, the authority will apply a 3% DVBE and a 25% small business goal using all categories that qualify under the state standard, which include small business and small business for the purpose of public works. And of that 25% small business goal, will designate a 3% micro business goal as well. Okay, next slide. So for contracts that are 100% federally funded, which is rare, we very rarely have any contracts, but we do want to provide a scenario for you. And this includes any grant funds. The authority will apply a 17% DBE goal. Next slide. So the authority is committed to diversity, and we have access to diverse suppliers, contractors, and consultants through various agencies that certify businesses to work with the state. And this helps the authority to achieve our goals and meet state and federal guidelines around working with SB, DBBE, and DBE firms. We're not a certifying agency, so we partner with a couple of different agencies to utilize their certification designations. And you see them listed here on the slide. Anytime you want to bring a business on board to meet the goal, they have to be certified with these departments here, and their certification must be current and valid. So the California Department of General Services offers the Small Business Certification, Micro Business, and Small Business for the Purpose of Public Works, which includes firms who specifically work on public work projects. The SBPW is beneficial for firms that have graduated out of the DGS Small Business Program as a result of having worked on this project. So DGS also offers the DVBE, or Disabled Veteran Business Enterprise certification. The California Unified Certification Program, CUCP, which is the DBE, or Disadvantaged Business Enterprise certification, is offered by a consortium of agencies throughout California, but Caltrans is the agency that offers the certification statewide. So there are various agencies that offer certifications, DBE certification statewide, so that businesses are able to choose the agency in their region. Some DBE certifications, depending on where you go to get certified, can take several months. So please keep that in mind when you're teaming and pulling small businesses together. Next slide. So the authority does not prohibit subconsultants or subcontractors in being exclusive to one offerer, but we do strongly discourage the practice. Next slide. So the best way to stay connected with us and to find out about small business opportunities, events, is to register in our vendor registry. We encourage all businesses to register with Connect HSR. It's free and it's pretty simple to complete. So businesses who register will be notified of opportunities and workshops that are hosted by the High-Speed Rail and other agency partners, and can learn about how we do business. So we encourage businesses to register. And one thing I want to note is that previously I mentioned that we had a 30% overall goal. Currently online, you'll be able to find the small business program plan that applies to the 30% goal. We do plan to publish the new plan before Thanksgiving. So if you're going online and you're looking for the new goal structure and how it's identified in the program plan, you won't find it right now, but you will find it before Thanksgiving and before the RFQ is due. So this concludes my overview, and I'll go ahead and pass it on to Isidro Sanchez.
Thank you very much, Katrina. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you again for being with us today. My name is Isidro Sanchez, and I am the Contract Compliance Administrator with the High-Speed Rail. Today, I'm going to introduce and provide an overview of the High-Speed Rail Authority's Community Benefit Agreement, the pivotal role that it plays in ensuring a positive impact on the High-Speed Rail project, the communities that it serves, and how it applies to contractors and subcontractors. Next slide, please. So what is the Community Benefit Agreement? It is a cooperative partnership between the High-Speed Rail Authority, skilled craft unions, and contractors with the primary goal to ensure that the High-Speed Rail project benefits the communities that it traverses. Its purpose is designed to assist small businesses and job seekers in finding or obtaining construction contracts, jobs, and training opportunities for residents who live in economically disadvantaged areas. It also supports employment of individuals who are designated as targeted workers and those who are designated as disadvantaged workers, including veterans. And it also helps remove potential barriers for small businesses to participate on the High-Speed Rail project, such as providing opportunities for disadvantaged businesses. Next slide, please. So what are some of the goals of the community benefit agreement? The community benefits agreement sets forth important goals to meet its purpose. Some of these goals include a national targeted worker program, otherwise known as NTHI. This program specifically focuses on the recruitment of individuals deemed as targeted workers. Specifically, this program ensures that at least 30% of all project work hours be performed by national targeted workers, and 10% of those hours to be performed by those classified as disadvantaged workers. This program emphasizes the commitment to the benefit of the community. I want to make a clear point that these goals are different than the small business goals that were previously discussed. Those are small business, and these are related to the community benefits agreement. In addition, another important goal is to identify and retain a skilled workforce. Our community benefits agreement ensures that every effort be made to employ the maximum number of apprentices allowed by state law. It ensures the apprentices come from an approved apprentice program, and it helps monitor compliance with both the Department of Industrial Relations and Department of Labor to ensure that the apprentice and journeyman requirements are met, such as ratios, proper supervision, and training. The CBA also promotes access to employment opportunities. In addition to our national targeted hiring program, the community benefits agreement aims to boost access to prevailing wage employment opportunities to members of the community. And the CBA promotes efficient execution. So it emphasizes the importance of executing construction contracts in a timely, safe, and economical manner. Next slide, please. So how does the community benefits agreement apply to contractors and subcontractors? So all design build contractors and all construction contracts must agree to the community benefits agreement and designate a jobs coordinator who will implement and monitor the national targeted hiring program. It also applies because it promotes inclusivity. So the CBA emphasizes the inclusivity of the project by allowing all qualified contractors and subcontractors to bid and obtain work on the high-speed rail, regardless of union affiliation. There is no union requirement, so workers are not required to join a union organization to be hired or dispatched to work on the construction projects of the high-speed rail. And it also provides standardized rules. So our community benefits agreement does provide a single set of work rules and standards, which provides guarantees against work stoppages, provides for expeditious and peaceful dispute resolutions. Some of the benefits to the standardized rules include that it ultimately fosters consistency and promotes a unified understanding among workers, which leads to an increased efficiency and really a smoother collaboration. Next slide, please. So listed, you will find our contact information for any future questions or inquiries. Feel free to email us at ccucpr@hsr.ca.gov. Please provide your questions and our team will review, and we'll try to give you as much information as we can. Some of the questions really require us to know more specific facts. So we can give you a generalized response, but if you have a very specific question, please provide specific facts so that way we can go ahead and tailor our answer to your question. In addition, on our website at hsr.ca.gov, you can find a copy of the community benefits agreement. With that, thank you all, and I will hand it over to Melissa Figueroa.
Thank you so much to all of our speakers this afternoon. Appreciate all of your presentations. Before we take our break, a quick reminder of the question and answer procedures. So we were going to take a brief 30-minute pause here where we'll collect the questions that have already been written. During a question and answer session, we will answer the written questions from both our virtual and in-person attendees. We will accept these written questions here at the event. Please write out your questions on the forms provided in the back of the room and give them to an authority staff member at the table. For those joining virtually, please use the Q&A feature of the Zoom application. Only the host of the Zoom meeting can see your questions. Your questions will be collected and reviewed, and then if you're on Zoom, they'll be printed and provided. and then answered by authority staff during the Q&A session, which will follow our break. Please turn in all questions as soon as possible at the start of the break. The authority will not answer questions regarding specific organizational conflict of interest matters, prior procurements, or other topics it determines are not relevant to the purpose of the event. As I mentioned earlier, if there are general program questions, we will do our best as time permits to answer those. The authority welcomes questions on the project generally, as well as more specific questions on the anticipated upcoming procurements, such as scopes of work, timelines, small business requirements, and general process. Please keep in mind that each specific procurement will have pre-bid meetings, small business workshops, and a process for getting questions answered. For questions that we're not able to answer at the event, the authority will make our best efforts to respond to them in writing. All written questions regarding the Industry Awareness Day should be submitted by November 22nd to Richard Yost at capitalprocurement@hsr.ca.gov. All authority responses to questions will be posted on the Industry Awareness webpage on our website within a few weeks. Please do not use the Q&A session for advertising or promotional purposes. Thank you so much. And with that, we will take a brief 30-minute pause, allow you to stretch your legs and turn in your questions. We did receive a fair amount of questions. We are respectful of people's time, and there are some questions that are pertaining to if we get federal grants, then what, and multi-step questions. So some of the questions and answers we will take back to the office and answer in a very thoughtful manner and post those on our website as well. But the technical questions, we will do our very best to get to all of that for all of you today, both on Zoom and in the room. We have a number of folks that are subject matter experts that are going to be joining me here on stage to go through their questions pertaining to their subject area. Again, if we don't get to your question, all of them have been collected both on Zoom and in person, and we will post those questions and answers on our website. And Rachel is going to go through where to find that as well. We'll do a quick walkthrough on where to find that on our website. And we did get a number of questions on the schedule, so we'll put that up on the big screen here to my right shortly as well, so that you can grab your phones and take your screenshots ahead of that documentation being posted on our website. Again, all of the PowerPoint presentations that we provided today will be posted on our website, so you'll have them for ease of printing. There you go. Everyone's getting their phones out. We'll give you a second to do that. All right, I think we're going to go in order of who received the fewest questions. So they get out of the room quicker. So I think Isidro won that bet. So he's going to come up first.
Yes, I was fortunate to get one question, so I'm very happy to answer it. So the question is, does the community benefits agreement apply to A&E or professional services contracts? The answer to that is no, it does not. Our community benefits agreement applies to construction contracts. So if you have an A&E or professional services contract, the community benefits agreement will not be applicable to those. So with that, I will hand it over to our next question answerer.
Okay. I have about six or seven questions here. First question. We are looking to be a sub on the packages. How do you suggest we work with several other primes on different packages, so high-speed rail gets the best proposals? There are dependencies among packages that are not clear. I'm sorry, I'm trying to read handwriting, not typed font. That are not clear how high-speed rail will handle this. So I'm gonna try to address the first part of the question, and then Kate's gonna come up and tackle another part of the question. So in 2024, early 2024, in anticipation of all of the procurements that they talked about earlier, we're gonna be hosting teaming events and matchmaking events to give primes and small businesses an opportunity to connect find out who is, who's gonna be the best team to hop on. And then when we do these events, we'll also keep in mind that some firms may not even understand how to do that. So we'll have people in the room that will offer support and be able to show you how to do joint ventures or teaming or, teaming agreements, different things like that. So that's our commitment to make sure that you can maximize teaming opportunities as they come up. I'm gonna have Kate come up and talk about the potential conflicts with joining multiple teams.
Thank you. So as everyone remembers, track and systems used to be this giant package, right? With all of this work was sort of in one contract or on the authority's plate. And so now we broke it up. And so keeping that in mind, just because you are interested in one package doesn't necessarily mean you would be conflicted out of doing another package. Unfortunately, the lawyer answer is it depends on, on a lot of things, whether you can participate in multiple procurements, including other work you might have. So we encourage questions to be sent to legal@hsr.ca.gov. But we have previously said a few things in the general spirit of sort of, can you do more than one package? We had previously said, if you're participating in the train sets procurement, that doesn't conflict you out from also participating in the systems procurement. We've said that publicly and in writing before. We've also said participating on the current CPs, on those current construction packages, doesn't necessarily, automatically conflict you out from all of these rail follow-on contracts. There's a lot of levels in between there, so we're pretty comfortable with that. But as to which of those on the grid that was up there previously that I think will come back up can be bid on, at the same time, it really does depend. The main thing to keep in mind is that the more support contracts, like the integration contract, the construction manager contract, the ISA, and the ICE, that group will need to be more objective and impartial. The other work is where, it'll get spread around and it's more likely that it would be okay to work on more than one package.
Thank you, Kate. So the next question, let's see. This is just wanting to know, I guess, about the small business officer position and then contacting my team. How do you get in contact with my team? So each prime is going to have to establish someone within their organization, a small business firm or someone internally. That's a small business officer that is responsible for handling, tracking their goals and doing outreach and all of that. And they're going to interact with our department's small business advocate, Chardonnay Valley. And raise your hand, Chardonnay. Chardonnay is the authority's small business advocate. And she is going to be the point of contact for you, and her team will work with you to make sure that you're meeting your goals and hitting your objectives. If you need to reach out to our team, you can do that at sbprogram@hsr.ca.gov. sbprogram@hsr.ca.gov. Okay, next question. Okay, will high-speed rail ensure prime teams meet the 30% overall SB goal? So we're no longer 30% overall. We are expressing each goal individually, but the question remains, will we make sure the primes are meeting those goals? And the answer is yes. Each prime will be required to submit a utilization plan. So within that utilization plan, you'll identify the small businesses that you plan to use, what role they'll have on the project, and how you plan to achieve the 10% DBE, the 3% DVBE, the 25% small business, the 3% micro business, whichever goals are on the project, you will be required to give us, with your proposal, a plan to achieve that. And then the small business team will then meet with you on a regular basis, monthly most likely, to make sure that you're hitting those targets. So that can be helping you to conduct outreach events. It can be just sitting down and finding small businesses that can help you to meet your numbers. There's a number of methods that we'll use to help you to hit your targets. The second part of that question was, what will happen if what will happen if prime firms are not on track to meet their small business goals and project milestones? So I mentioned earlier in my presentation that we've revised the small business program plan. That's essentially our Bible. That's what we use to govern the program, and that is what you will use to find out what you need to do to hit all of your targets. So in addition to the compliance measures that I mentioned earlier, we now involve our executive leadership team. So if we have an issue with a prime meeting their goals, and maybe they're just not meeting them, maybe they just don't want to meet them, I don't know. We sit down with that prime, we sit down with their executive leadership, we sit down with our executive leadership, and we have meetings. Our board of directors is very passionate about us hitting our targets, and that's something that we're charged with doing. So we don't take it lightly. So we will implement regular measures to make sure that all firms are on target to meet their goals. I don't want to talk about what happens if they don't, because they will. So if I have anything to do with it, they will meet their goals. The next question, let's see, how will you describe the commitment level from both state and federal in terms of funding and investment? I'm gonna try to answer this question the best way I can. We start each procurement with sitting down with our finance team, and we determine the funding breakdown of every contract. So if there is a certain amount of state dollars, a certain amount of federal dollars, then we look at the breakdown in dollars and we determine where the goals are going to be applied. So as I mentioned earlier, we have most of our contracts are blended, state and federal. So we will outline in the RFQ how many dollars are supposed to be committed to small business, to DBE, and to DBBE. So you'll understand that at the time of the RFQ so that you can get your teams together. Okay, so that's that question. Last two. Are there any lessons learned from execution of civil contracts in regards to supporting small businesses, DBEs, and DVBEs that could improve their inclusion and success in execution on future procurements? Absolutely. Our CEO mentioned earlier about lessons learned and the way that we've changed our program so that we can move differently and actually achieve success. The small business program is no different. I came onto the authority in 2018, and we immediately started to notice the changes as we went from planning to design to construction. And there's a ton of lessons learned, which is one of the reasons why we changed our goal structure. And it's another reason why we revised the small business program so that it's more clear and concise. There's no ambiguity and everybody understands their roles and responsibilities in meeting the goals. So in terms of supporting small businesses, we do plan to, early next year, finish the work on a supportive services contract. So we do want to have a bid effort go out that's specific for supporting small businesses in finding bonding and insurance and different things that are historically roadblocks or hindrances in them performing on contracts. So that is an effort that we're looking into right now, and we do plan to get a contract in place and put a bid effort in place. Let's see. The last question. Did High-Speed Rail perform a market study to determine the DBE community can manage a 17% DBE goal? If so, would the availability or authority be willing to share this study? That's a good question. We're actually going to do a disparity study, but I need to mention that we have not yet had a 100% federal contract. Just because we changed the goals, I wanted to put a scenario just in case there was a time that we had to go 100% federal. We would, the standard is 10%, the floor is 10%, but we wanted to obviously maximize small business participation and not just have a 10% goal on a very large procurement. So we did raise it to 17%. However, we're starting the work this year to do a disparity study because that's very important. We have to make sure that there's availability in the marketplace for small businesses to perform, and so that we can actually be successful in meeting our goals. And so that's it for the questions that I have. I'm going to turn it over to the next presenter.
Right, can we get the webpage up? Oh, can you guys hear me now? All right, Justin, is the webpage loading? There we go. All right, I will be answering general questions. My name is Rachel Long. I am one of the capital contracts procurement managers here at the authority, helping with various capital contracts and all of the architectural and engineering contracts that you see being put out by the authority. And just a reminder, some of the written questions that are not answered today will be answered and posted on the industry awareness webpage or the Track and Systems homepage following this event. I had questions including, will a copy of the presentation be made available for the virtual attendees? And is there a web portal that lists the current RFPs that have been released? Will I be able to download any of the RFPs to review? All right, so you'll see here on the screen, we have our HSR homepage here. And the video recording along with the presentation, the list of the meeting participants, and the video recording will be posted on our Track and Systems webpage. So if you click on our www.hsr.ca.gov website, you can click on Business Opportunities. And then on the lower right-hand side of the page, there's a list which includes a link to each active procurement. There are some procurements that are listed on there that are completed now. Eventually those will be removed from our webpage, but you could see all active procurements listed here, and every time there is a new active procurement, a new link is created. And so if you can click on Track and Systems, which is on the very bottom over there, you'll see there's the very top header that talks about the Industry Awareness Day, and that's where we're going to be posting all of these materials shortly after the presentation. We did receive additional questions related to the design for Track and OCS. Any questions related to that particular procurement, since the procurement is active, I ask that questions are submitted to trackdesign@hsr.ca.gov. I am the primary point of contact for that procurement, so any of those emails that go to that email address, I will see them. And then we also received questions related to the active train set procurement. For any questions related to the train set procurement, you can submit them to trainsets@hsr.ca.gov. I know there were questions regarding a list of the active procurements. This is where Justin, can you pull up the screen again with the list of the active contracts? All right, if you click on each of these various links, within the link for that procurement, there is an embedded link for the California State Contract Register's website. That is our Cali Procure site, and all active contracts for the authority, not just capital and A&E, will be on that webpage, and you can easily search us just by looking up our name and see any active contracts that are available. And from there, you'll be able to download any RFP or RFQ documents. All right, thank you.
As you might imagine, I have quite a few questions. So the first one is how the authority views the handling of the master schedule integration in all contracts. So we have authority staff that does all the program controls for us. So they manage our master schedule. The contractor schedules will be integrated with that schedule into the master schedule. So as we get progress schedules from the contractors, it will be our job to integrate those schedules into our master schedule. And our construction managers will participate in getting that done. The next one is for tracking OCS and systems, which materials and equipment will the authority furnish versus what the contractor furnishes? Currently, all materials are to be procured by our contractors. Now, that isn't to say we may not look at other options for owner-supplied material, but right now, today, we expect our contractors to procure the materials. Related question to track procurement. How many miles will be built initially? The test track is the 119 miles, and we expect to issue notices to proceed for the segments of civil works that become available. So right now we're looking at CP4 as the first piece that'll come available. And then I believe there's a northern piece to CP23, CP1. So 119-mile test track, double track railroad, and then we'll grow to 171 miles, double track railroad. The additional 52 miles being Madera to Merced and Poplar Avenue to Bakersfield. What about automatic fare collection, system and AFC bidding? This scope is going to be included in our stations packages. So we have station design underway now, and then we'll make a decision as an authority how we're going to deliver those stations. So the automatic fare, the fare collection, and automatic fare gates and all that business, if we have them, will be part of those packages. Regarding depots and equipment, I would like to know, it will be one of the contractors or individual suppliers in the bidding process. Also, I would like to know the bidding date and the date of sharing specs. There are a number of packages for facilities that are still to be determined, and the timeline is on there's a slide in the presentation that shows the quarters for the depots and facilities. So that'd be helpful to have up for Dominique's questions. So it's in the and it'll be on our website as well. Okay. Solar and battery. Recent board meeting provided plans for behind the meter static frequency converters. This scope is not mentioned in any of the packages. Is this part of package 2 systems or separate procurement? If so, which? Right now, the everything behind the meter with the solar static converters and everything that's part of the battery electric storage system is in package 2. And that's not to say, and we welcome your feedback on where that should be. But right now, it's expected to be in package 2, but we have some work to do with parsing out those pieces and then looking at the integration that we're going to be taking on with parsing out those pieces. Recent board meeting provided plans for behind the meter solar photovoltaic arrays. The scope is not mentioned in any of the packages. This is part of package 2, systems or a separate procurement. And similar to the last answer, it's going to be, we currently envision it as part of, there you go, it's part of package 2, but we have some work to do with refining those packages and which is going to be in which. And I'm going to ask again for, please give us feedback on where you think that should land. Recent board meeting provided plans for behind the meter. Okay, this is a very similar question. This scope is not mentioned in any of the packages, but the battery, and this is the battery electric storage system. Again, it's expected to be part of package 2. But if there's a way to break those up into solar voltaic arrays, into a battery electric system, into traction power substation, which, can be just parts or it can be one, but we'll be looking at all that. Okay, and PG&E. What, if any, procurements are associated with the Central Valley Phase electrification scope will be made directly by PG&E? There will be transmission lines and substation work undertaken by PG&E directly, along with minor upgrades to their network. So PG&E will have their scopes for their work, and we will have our scope. Is the green power and solar grid included in the scope of package 2 or supplied by others? As I mentioned earlier, all the solar is in package 2 right now. And the connections will be separate from PG&E connections. So we'll have a PG&E connection to our substation. We'll have the solar voltaic arrays connected to our substations. Okay. Yeah, I think that's it. Very good.
So I have some more technical question on my plate here. First, speaking about requirement management, I have 2 questions concerning the usage of doors, EBM doors. So yes, the authority, so the first question is, can you confirm the integration support contract will require EBM doors use? Yes. And we can be even more precise. It's not doors new generation, it's the classical doors. We are, as we started to use doors several years ago, we don't want to transfer to doors new generation, and we are using the classical doors. So the second question was right here. The authority currently using doors as a requirement tools? The answer is yes, we are. Since the beginning of the program, we are using doors, and we have all our requirement management and interface management requirement derived from the interface management indoors. And we intend to continue on all the contract. And for those who may have collaborate to the civil package, I will say we will even develop more the integration aspect and the requirement management, which is part of the integration aspect, due to the split of our contract and the integration effort that we will have to do. We will not be in the same configuration as the civil contract, where the civil contractors were self-certified and they just have to provide us their data at the end of the contract. This time we will manage actively the requirement on the authority side, because we will have the integration responsibility. So that was the 2 questions on doors. Then I think it's a question that you are all waiting for on time and budget. So the first question, can you provide an update on the track and system installation timeline? How, when construction are expected to be awarded? Track and system installation, it's covering the CMGC track and OCS package and the package 2 signaling package. And as you can see on that table, we expect to have to launch the procurement process in Q2 of 2024. Answering some question that I have later on when we will provide the draft scope and RFQ document for review of the industry. That will come early to 24, first quarter, in order to let time to the company to comment, roughly 1 month of comment, and then some time to us to integrate the great ideas the industry will provide us in the final document in order to issue the document at Q2. The second question, the procurement package schedule indicate that packages 1B and 2 will occur in Q2 of 2024. Additionally, it was indicated that the authority is considering draft required package for the industry for feedback. So it's just what I told you, very early 24. Can you provide more specificity to procurement activities and timeline? Will draft document be provided to industry? The answer is yes. Or is this timeline the stand of industry review for draft document? Yeah, so it's we will provide the documentation beginning of the next year, and we will provide enough time for the industry to comment because we want to have a real input from the industry. For the integration support contract, do you have a timeline from when the RFQ will be released? So as you can see here, the integration support is coming very early to 24 because as we already told you, the design package is already on the street for RFQ, and we want the integration support to be with us at the very beginning of the work in order to start integration by integrating the requirement into the design and all that. So speaking of timeline, the integration support is one of the first that will come behind the design. Would you please provide the estimated budget for the additional contracts such as integration support, CM, and duration of these additional contracts? Yes, I can. I forget in my first speech to give the number, but I have some rough number to give you because as we spoke about, it is progressive design, and so the scope of the supporting package may vary a little bit according to the amount of work that will be. For example, at the beginning, we will have only to integrate on CP4, then we will have to add CP1, CP2, 3, and others, and the rolling stock will come into the game. So the contract will progress. So for taking per order, the independent safety assessor, we are thinking that the contract will be in the $10 to $15 million. Concerning the integration support, it is a contract that we think will start around $40 million, but could raise up to $80 million. Concerning the independent cost assessor, we will be in the $10 million, hopefully, for the independent cost assessor. And for the construction manager, it will be in the range of a couple of $100 million. So couple of $100 million for the construction management. And the same, it's a contract that will evolve with the progression of the work and the extent of the work that we will do. Concerning the next part of the question, the duration of this contract. These contracts are for now planned to go to the open of the service of the line. And as per our pure document, we are now planning to open the line between 2030 and 2033. So it's roughly 7 years. 7 years duration, roughly, depending when we will open the line. Next question. When will be the sample CMGC and PDB contract made available? So as I said before, it will be very beginning of next year and for a procurement due at Q2 of 24. Has package 2 already been released for bid? No. The release is planned for Q2, package 2 being the systems. Please be as specific as you can about upcoming procurement dates. Yeah. I cannot tell you the exact date where it will come. I have to wait for the board decision. So, but it's for now, the better I can do. What's the anticipated timeline for the draft RFQ for package 1 and 2? So again, Q2 of 24. Can you restate the budget for package 1B and 2? Are both package fully funded? On the fully funded, I will let Kate or Bruce answer, but I can answer the first part of the question, which is the cost. So according to what I say previously, the package, the CMGC package, will start with on CP4 area, so south of the construction site for now. That CMGC package will start with a first estimation for the first part around $400 million, and with the development of the different phases after that can be up to a couple of $billion. Concerning the package 2 system, the package 2 system is in a little bit less than the CMGC, but in the couple of $billion too, also dollars, all included. For now, all included, solar, substation, signaling, telecom. So if there is a refinement on the power, solar or battery, depending of the return we will have from you and the industry, and on if there is a better way to split the package, so there will be some adjustment. So when we are saying a couple of billion for that package right now, it's all included except the PG&E work. Okay, so it's all the CHSA work from the substation and all the system behind. So concerning the
funding question.
Funding, yes. Is it fully funded?
Okay. Well, can you restate the budget? Oh, are both packages fully funded? No. No, our board has, we have a certain level of funding that is authorized, and it's right now it's the 119 miles. So that's where we're funded, and it's portions of that are currently funded. So for these full packages, they are not fully funded for the 171. Now we will, as funding becomes available and the flexibility of these packaging delivery methods give us the flexibility to release pieces of the work as it becomes funded and as the civil works are available for them to construct. But right now, the 171 miles, double track electrified railroad is not fully funded. Oh, and the information's on our website. On the federal grants page, on the grants page. All right, Melissa.
Thank you, Bruce. So what is the budget for construction management contract? So as I said, the construction management contract is for now estimated in a range of a couple of $100 million. And that's it for me. Melissa?
I think Dominique wins her most animated answers. All right, that concludes the question and answer portion of our event today. We do thank everyone for submitting questions. Again, if there was anything that was not answered live during the presentation, those questions and answers will be posted on our website with the rest of the materials and the walkthrough that Rachel provided on where you can find that. And if we can go to the last slide, Justin, I think there was one follow-up on email addresses in case anyone needed those one more time. But we do appreciate everyone's time today. We appreciate the fact that you came in person. This is our first in-person industry forum since COVID. So we're glad to have all of you in person here, and those of you who joined virtually on Zoom, thank you as well for making the time. And we look forward to more opportunities for connection. Thank you so much.